decay. How can anybody be surprised? It turned out this way. Yeah, it's been planned, it's an inside job. So many movers and shakers are supporting the mob. Well, the skyline is starting to show a strain. Don't blame climate change for being this way. You know and I know it's a dark evil scheme, but they'll reap the whirlwind like that never seen. They'll call it, we'll call it the tyrannical blues.
Hey, how you doing? You're on Bob's Blues in the News, coming to you directly from Atlanta, Georgia, off the cuff, just trying to stay warm. Yeah, it's been cold, man. Been cold a lot of places here recently. I guess, I mean, in, the last week of January, so you expect it to be cold, right? But all of a sudden, it got, here in Georgia, it got really, really cold last week. And before that, it had been sort of, pleasant. Had a couple cool days, but nothing really too cold. But now we got hit with the cold. But it's winter, hey. So I'm glad I'm not living back in New York again, huh? Because they're getting a double whammy of it. But, my son, he says, when he's in New York, he says, well, you might as well get to like it. So he took up snowboarding. So he's snowboarding everywhere across New York, I guess, right now. So what's going on on the planet? I've been following Iran a lot. It's funny because legacy media doesn't follow it that much, and a lot of people seem sort of apathetic about what's going on in Iran. If it's just not a Jew, no news if it's not about Jews, right? But I really feel for the people because they're suffering so much. And they've given up, a lot of them have given up their lives against this tyrannical, and that's why I played this tune coming in, Tyrannical Blues. This tyranny in Iran has been going on for 47 years. It's hardcore. And, when they have to bring in people from the outside, terrorists from the outside to massacre their own people, it says a lot about the regime, and it's all evil. So they need to be eliminated. They need to go. And I hope Trump does the right thing. In fact, I think he should have acted quicker than he has been, but I understand there's a lot of dynamics in the region, and you do have to get your forces in place, and things do take time to get your forces arranged well, so there's no disaster, and so that you are victorious in the end. But I just feel so sorry for these people because they have no Second Amendment. They don't have any guns. So they just go out on the streets with their bare hands and they get slaughtered. So hopefully something is going to happen pretty soon to free Iran. And once Iran is free, and a decent government is established, and I think it will be. A lot of people in the streets were calling for the Shah to come back. The Shah is, Pahlavi, the son of the last Shah, who seems like a really decent man. He doesn't seem like he really wants to get his hands in the weeds as far as running the country, but he's willing to be symbolically the king, sort of like a democratic monarchy, a little bit like they have in England. And I assume there are people on the ground, underground right now, fighting against the Ayatollah and the RGC, etc., who have plans for a new government. Now, there are many ethnic groups in Iran. They're not all Persians. They're Arabs and all the kind of other ethnic groups. So we have to get these groups together somehow if you want a unified Iran. But I think anything would be better than what they have now. It's terrible. And Iran is could be a very prosperous place, and it was before the Ayatollah came along. Before we basically, put down the last Shah. Well, Jimmy Carter, I guess, is to blame, and the CIA, and England and France. I think they all had a hand in it because maybe the Shah was getting too uppity or something. He wasn't playing ball, perhaps, with the West like they would have wanted him to. And there were other elements, perhaps gaining influence, like the communists. And maybe the economy wasn't as good as it should have been. But, man, he was a lot better off under the old Shah than they are now under this tyranny. So let's hope Trump comes through with this. And he doesn't screw the Iranian people. I don't think he will. I'm a little worried about what's happening in Syria as well, because the Houthis, who have been our friends for a long time, who fought with us in that region, in Syria, Iraq, etc., and who are Muslims themselves, but they're not fanatical Muslims. They're Sunni, and they like the West. They dress like in Western clothes a lot, but they're being massacred now as well against Al-Johani, or what his name is, in Syria. This guy that Trump more or less crowned, Al-Jolani, to help bring Syria together after Assad was disposed of. But it seems like that's the ambassador to Turkey, who's a friend of Trump, I think his name is Tom Barak, sort of turned his back on the Kurds and sort of persuaded Trump, don't worry about the Kurds, we're going to unify under this guy. Yeah, well, he was an ISIS guy, he was a terrorist in the past, but, we put on a nice suit, he trimmed his beard, so we can use him to unify Syria. And Trump more or less went along with the plan, but it's a disaster. It's a disaster. And you can't trust the terrorist. Once a terrorist, always a terrorist. It's in their DNA. You can't, everybody feels like they have a purpose in life, and you're not going to change somebody's idea on what his purpose is. If it's had this idea in his head for all his life. And these terrorists have had this idea in their head all their lives. The reason to be is to spread Islam all over the world and to kill the Jews and to kill the Christians and destroy Western civilization. You're not going to change their minds. There are Muslims who are like the Kurds, who are peace-loving and nice and don't want to kill other people, basically. They just want to defend their own culture, which is great. They're on the good side. But they often, especially if they're a minority, they get abused. And, if and I'm saying we got to be a policeman of the world, but we're in that region. We have a lot of influence in that region. Trump went everywhere in the Middle East the other day. He went to Qatar, he went to Saudi Arabia, and with the UAE, trying to bring everybody together for the Abraham Accords. And now he's got this board of peace. So we're very much got our hands into it. So why allow the bad guys to take over, And, people thinking about Gaza, because Israel said no way is Hamas going to be allowed to stay in Gaza. We have to take their arms away, etc. And we have to have a friendly neighbor in that part of the world, right next to us in Gaza. But a lot of people on this board of peace, maybe it's symbolic, but still, and maybe it's a better idea than the UN, but still a lot of these people are terrorists, like Turkey, like Qatar, and they have no desire to get along with Israel. So I don't know how it's going to work either. So we're in a pickle here. I hope for the best, and maybe it'll turn out well. I mean, God has a plan, right? So, God can turn things around. I mean, if Trump destroys the regime in Iran, and I hope he does it quickly, I really do, it could change the whole dynamics of the Middle East. Change the whole dynamics. It would be such a victory for freedom. And that's what we need. We need more victories for freedom in the world. That goes for the Iranian people. It goes for the Kurds. It goes for any people anywhere in the world who want freedom, who want liberty. They should be allowed to have it. And the tyranny should be put down. The tyrants should be put down. Because they do the world a lot of harm. I mean, look, he went into Venezuela and got rid of the dude. I guess he was close, right? And I guess he found him a more direct threat than the Iranians because they're far away. And, Maduro was right in his backyard, right? And he was putting a lot of drugs into the country and making money off of the cartels and doing our country a lot of harm directly with the cartels. Sex trafficking, drug running, you name it, they did it. So I can understand why he went. And that was amazing victory for Trump. Amazing attack. A great victory for him. And I'm not sure where Venezuela is going to go after this now. The vice president, she sort of had a meeting with Trump, and maybe she more or less agrees to be nice. But that was a feather in Trump's hat. But, it just takes one bad move to blow everything. And I'm glad he's trying to back off on what's going on in Minnesota. I support the ICE. I support law enforcement. But here in our own country, we have all these rioters, these people on the far left. A lot of these people are coming from foreign countries or being paid by foreign countries. They're well organized, and they're professional anarchists and insurrectionists. So I'm glad he's sort of trying to get a handle on that here. So I supported Trump. I voted for Trump. I still like the man, even though he gets bad advice sometimes. Some of his advisors are not the best, although I like basically his cabinet. So there's a lot of good things. There's more good to say about Trump than bad. I mean, compared to Biden, compared to Obama, oh, he's so much better. And he's been friendly to the Jews. So he's done a lot of good. So I just hope it doesn't blow it. And, everything's precarious. The economy is, in some sections, is very good. I mean, the stock market, I think it was down a little bit today, but generally speaking, the stock market has been up. And there are people in this country making a lot of money because the middle class has been hurt a lot. And he needs to do more for the middle class, and I think he's on a campaign now. I think he just gave a speech last night in Iowa, something about the economy, because he knows if he wants to win the midterms, the economy has got to improve for everybody. And they say, once you get your taxes back, you're going to be happier, blah, blah, blah. Inflation is going down. The job market is better, et cetera, et cetera. So I stay positive. But, you have to be careful of what you do, especially if you're Trump and, you're the most powerful man on earth. I mean, I use a comparison all the time by King Saul, how King Saul had everything going for him, and God told him, you got to totally wipe out these bad guys. They're totally evil. I don't want anything to do with them. Kill the leader, kill the people. Don't take any of the cattle. Don't take care of the sheep. Don't touch anything that you got. Destroy the whole thing completely. Annihilate it. And he said, well, he came back after winning the battle. He said, well, we kept the king around as a trophy, and, we kept a few cattle and blah, blah, blah. And, after that, he lost his grace with God.